Hello, my name is Miss Lane, and I am your art teacher here in the amazing art room that we have. And I'm going to take you for a tour around this art room once I get back to class on Wednesday. I'm going to miss the first 2 days of class. That's why I wanted to produce this video. I didn't want to just leave the sub hanging. I didn't want to leave you guys without knowing something about me, if you don't already, or something about what to expect this semester. So there's this video and tomorrow's, they're guided. There's going to be a quiz involved or some kind of activity involved at the end of both videos, one for each day. And today it's going to be kind of a quiz over the content of the things that I'm sharing with you. I want to go over with you briefly about a little bit about myself, a little bit about what to expect this semester, a little bit of an overview. I want you to understand just a little bit, we'll go into it more on Wednesday and later on, a little bit more about my expectations in this class, that I expect, things that I expect from you, and the things that I expect to give to you the confidence that you can do what needs to be done in this semester. And so first, a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm here. This is the first time I've ever missed the first 2 days of school, but some unexpected things planned in a way, but unexpected also in a way. I didn't expect to be out of school the first 2 days, but I think this is going to work. You have a good sub, and we'll get to see you. I'll get to see you on Wednesday and get to meet all of you if I haven't met you already. But my name is Miss Lane, and I've been here. This is my 7th year teaching in Mescalero, and I love my job. I love my job. I love what I teach. I love working for the people I work for, and it's great. I love the facilities, and we're going to look at that a little more when I get back. A lot of schools don't have the kinds of facilities that we have, and the support that we have from the school board in the visual arts. So like I said, this is my 7th year, and I am also a teacher of other things besides art. I teach dual credit. And before you get out of here, before you get out of Mescalero, before you graduate, you'll probably take a dual credit class from me. And that won't necessarily be an art class. I teach for Eastern New Mexico University, and I also teach for the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, a great school. I take a group of students in the fall, usually my dual credit students who are taking classes from them already. I take them up there for a day and a night and part of the next day, and we get to tour the campus of the college, and we get to do some other things around town, like go to the state capitol, go to Meow Wolf. So it's an exciting, fun, arty time for students to introduce them to the idea of continuing their education in a form of the arts, not necessarily the visual arts. So that's a little bit about what I'm planning, and I'm all about art. I'm all about communication. I'm all about engagement with my students. I'm all about teaching communication as well as teaching art, teaching public speaking, teaching small group communication, in all kinds of interpersonal communication. And so that's kind of what happens in this classroom. And you'll learn more about that as time goes on. But let me give you just a little bit of my expectations in this class. We'll affirm them and expand on them when I get back on Wednesday. But I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork right now and just share with you some of the things that I expect from you. And I think over time that I have always experienced that my students, I just don't have students who are rebellious or bad, or I've had good fortune with my students and hope to continue in that direction. And one of the things that I have found, I've always been kind of open to listening to students' voices and what they would like to have. And I know your phones are very important to you. I know I got a new iPhone just a couple of weeks ago, and my phone, like yours, is a big part of my life. And I keep it with me a lot. And I'm right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off. I'm expecting some people to call me, but I'm going to turn it off right now because I don't want to be interrupted. One of the things that I've discovered, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I've discovered that even in art, even though we do use our phones for certain things in art, that it is a distraction and it is an enemy to focus. Having your phone on in the classroom, watching for text messages, watching videos, checking on your lap, hiding it from the teacher, whatever you're doing, is not helpful in what we're trying to do, whether it's in academics, but even in the visual arts, it's not helpful. And so I'm going to have pretty strong rules about what I'm doing with telephones. Telephones are wonderful in their place, and not in the midst of trying to focus on some kind of art piece, some kind of a lecture that we're having, some kind of group work that we're doing. It's not good. It doesn't work. And so that's going to be something we're going to continually talk about. And I'm going to insist upon adherence to my desires there for our phones. We have, you have Chromebooks that you bring to school. There will be occasions, oops. There will be occasions where we will use our phones, like I said, in the classroom, but there will be occasions where you'll be using your Chromebooks, primarily for research, but not always. There'll be other things that we'll be doing as well. We're going to be talking as we go on about cleanup. We always have to be able to leave a little bit of space at the end of the class to get the class back in order like it was at the beginning when you came in the room, hopefully, that the class before you. It's difficult sometimes with the different materials that we're using and the artwork, but I did order for you guys. It's not going to be there probably for another week or two. I ordered some portfolios. They're large and, like 28 by 36, and they're pretty big because sometimes we do some large work. And then I also ordered some bags for you, some zipper bags. They're real heavy duty bags where you can put things, your sketchbook and different things in. And we'll talk more about your sketchbook later. I've ordered sketchbooks for you as well. Those of you who have had art classes with me before know we've made our own sketchbooks, and there's something to be said about that. And maybe Art 2 will be doing that. But I did purchase sketchbooks and we'll be working in those on a regular basis. And like I said, I'll go in with you on that more later. Another thing, if you've had art with me before, one of the things I've been kind of, what would you say, not a real enforcer of deadlines. And I don't know that that's such a great thing. I took well, actually, I'm reading a book right now. And I pulled some things from that book that really made me believe that deadlines are great for productivity. And because I know myself, when I have deadlines, I am much more productive than when I think, oh, well, I have 6 months to get that done. Or maybe there's really no deadline at all. Maybe I should be putting away money in my Acorns account, my savings account. And then I say, well, no, I want to buy this or do this rather than put $500 in this account. I'd rather just go ahead and spend the money. So there's sometimes we put things off because we don't have deadlines. And so this semester, I'm going to give you deadlines and I'm going to give you penalties if you don't meet those deadlines. And I am going to be watching how intently you are working on your projects. And it's a fine balance, because sometimes when I give you an assignment, some students want to push things to the max. They want to say, I'm just going to do this on me. I'm going to go all the detail and I'm going to make this drawing just something pop and something that's just have these high goals. And it's hard for me to look at that and say, oh my gosh, they're halfway done and the deadline's here. It's very difficult. So it's a fine balance between how much you're expecting of yourself and how much the project's really requiring of you. So we'll talk about that more, but deadlines are something to be thinking about and be aware that that's something that I am looking at very closely this semester. Another thing that we do in this class is, and not every project, is we'll critique. We'll get together as a class and look at our projects, put them on the wall outside in the hall, sit down on the floor, and have a rubric that we use for the assignment, and then go back with the rubric and look at the artwork and talk about it. And of course, this is a great way, this is a great form of communication about art. We learn about using different terms. And then we also learn to share about what our thinking is when we were producing that piece of art. I'm going to start drawing in history, some art history into some of the things that we do. We'll look at some of the artworks. One of the things that you in Art 1 are going to be looking at in the first part of the semester is the concept of line and doing drawing just with different kinds of line. And then looking at works of art throughout history that were done just with line. One person in particular is the artist Picasso, who most of you are probably familiar with that name, has some lovely line drawings. And so we're going to be looking at art history also and integrating it into the arts. But most of your classes are going to be what we call studio classes. And you'll be working mostly in this room, and sometimes we'll be moving into the other room. Those of you who are in Art 2 or independent study, we have a bunch of really wonderful airbrushes that I really want to put into action this semester for you upper, probably more independent study than Art 2, but we'll just have to see how that goes. But you'll have some kind of lecture at the beginning of class, even if it's just to remind you of what we're doing today and remind you of what my expectations are in that day, but I want you to get busy. I don't like to have to send home stuff. I'd like you to be able to work in the classroom and finish your work in the classroom. Taking things home sometimes can be problematic. And so most of the time I don't, but I'm not against it if you need to, but I don't normally do it that way. I like you to get your work done, so I like you to stay on task in the class. Most of the days you're going to work the majority of the class independently or on your assignments, but I'm always there to work with you. I'm always there to help you with ideas, to help you with the media that you're using, whether it's paint or charcoal or pencil, different ways of using it. So I'm here to help you, to push you forward and to help you to be able to appreciate the things that we're doing in class and excelling and learning how to do things, learning better how to draw, learning better how to see. And another thing that we do in art, and some of you may have seen in the past, it hasn't happened for a couple of years because of COVID. We've had big art shows at the Inn of the Mountain Gods. And when Sarah puts on an art show and we bring in like 150, 200 pieces from the semester, her prizes were incredible. I mean, some students have walked away with $1,500 in prizes. And so that's been a big deal. And we've done it right above the staircase at the, above the windows. And it's been beautiful. We've done several of those, but COVID kind of knocked it out of the park. The other thing that we do is enter pieces in the state fair, and that won't happen till next summer. And that, again, COVID has been problematic there. The other venue that we have is the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque. And we should be getting from them sometime here in the next week or so what their theme is for the fall show and the entries. And we're going to build our assignments around that because I want a lot of entries. I want to see a lot of stuff go out there, and I want to see you guys winning prizes and people seeing the kind of work that can come out of this school. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Field trips. I'd like to do a field trip. I have the one that I said that I'm doing. I think I mentioned that to you, but maybe not. The Institute one where I take students for a day and a half. It's great. And that would be students, primarily juniors and seniors, who have exhibited an interest in some kind of the arts, whether it's filmmaking, jewelry making, writing, visual arts, sculpture, whatever. So that is something that is great too. Another one I want to do is the cultural center here in Mescalero. I've taken only one field trip down there and I really enjoyed it. And the students did, and we did some sketching, and then we brought the ideas back, sketching and photography, and brought the ideas back because I really like to see you guys working with art and artifacts and your culture. I think it's important that you work with themes that are developed around your culture. If you have seen in the other room, you've seen in the auditorium, the two large warriors that we've done. We're working on a third, fourth one right now in the other room. If you have a chance on your way out, you can go in the other room and look, because one is Lozen and the other one is Geronimo. And those have been in the making now for a couple of years. And last semester, last spring, Colton Kaji pretty well ramrodded that. And then there were other art. There was Diana La Paz and Sania and missing names, a number of you. Older students who have been working on that, but I'd like to bring some of you newer students in on board with that too. So I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about meeting you guys on Wednesday and having a really great semester. I have a big order of art supplies coming in. Oh, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks. I have a lot of art supplies in the room that we can use, but we've got I have lots of ideas for projects for you all this semester. We're going to start out with drawing. Most of us are going to start out with drawing. We're going to actually, initial project I'm going to introduce to you tomorrow is going to be called the Exquisite Corpse. And those of you who have done that Exquisite Corpse before, it sounds kind of weird, but you'll watch videos tomorrow on that. It's going to be a little different because it's a collaborative one. It's going to be something that we're going to work on together, I think in groups of either 3 or 6. So this is what you can kind of expect. Another thing too, I have a theater class, a drama class during 7th period this year, and it's mid-school. And one of the things I've thought about, especially with you Art 2 students, is we're going to need set design. So that will be another direction that we can go with the art department, is in designing and putting up sets for whatever kind of production or productions that we do. I think we're going to be doing a Christmas production. So I'm excited about that too. So I'm going to have a Miss McIntosh is going to pass out, if you don't already have it, pass out a handout with a little bit of just a quiz, a little bit, but I'm going to show you a video. It's a 10-minute video, and then you'll have this little quiz over what I talked about and over the video, and I will see you Wednesday. I will also see you tomorrow. I'll have a video for you tomorrow about the Exquisite Corpse. So I'm going to sign off. No, I'm not going to sign off here. I'm going to share my screen here. Hang on. And this is, like I said, it's a 10-minute video. And it's got some great stuff in it about what is art. I think it'll expand your mind a little bit about where art is located in our world. So I'm going to get on with this right now because this video is getting super long. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go here and start playing.
And amazing feats of architecture.
Hang on.
Now, imagine how many tourists would visit Paris if the city had no art. No paintings, no sculptures, no architecture. This is why we say art is priceless. We can't put a price on something that generates billions of dollars annually throughout the world. The amount created by art alone is uncountable. Artists may not make a lot of money compared to the average worker, but their contribution to a society is immeasurable. So what is this thing called art? Traditionally, the definition of art is something considered to be created primarily for aesthetic purposes and judged for its beauty and meaningfulness, specifically painting, sculpture, drawing, watercolor, graphics, and architecture. But I would define it otherwise. I would say art is simply visual communication. In the Western world, and most of the known world, communication is widely verbal. That means that great importance is given to words. This is called logocentrism. Logos comes from the Greek, meaning word. Think about this for a second. How much importance does your society put in the word? People debate over the words. Years are absorbed by the truth or falseness of the word. Some people even fight and kill over the word. It's truly amazing to see how powerful words are in our society. But there are other forms of communication. One of these is visual communication. Visual communication, though secondary, is very important to our society, and it is a billion-dollar industry. And although most people put very little importance to visual communication, for some, visual communication and symbols are the only way they can convey a message. But for the vast majority, not much thought is given to how powerful and important visual communication is. Take a look at all the products we consume and purchase. Why do we try that can of Coke over the other brand? Why are some cars more appealing than others? When we want a bucket of chicken, how do we know we're going to the right restaurant? Through visual communication, we know where to go and what to expect. In fact, everything is art. From logo designs to font to the simple shape of your furniture. Just imagine watching your favorite sports match and not being able to differentiate the teams or the players on that team. How meaningful would that be? All of these designs and logos were created by artists and convey a message. One major aspect and the basis of art is making something aesthetically pleasing to the eye. The first thing artists learn early on is the importance of composition, how things are arranged in an aesthetic manner, what makes this can more appealing than that can, where to position your message on a two-dimensional plane. This is one of the key concepts of photography and filmmaking, which comes from art. How to communicate a pleasing landscape or a scene in a film. Subconsciously, everyone knows what a good movie shot looks like, but years of studying art and compositional theory are needed to create a wonderful scene in a movie. If you look at Stanley Kubrick's movie, A 2001 Space Odyssey, you can see he was well versed in art and art theory. Almost every scene is based in the basics of composition. This simple scene here is something we artists call the L composition, and it is one of the best ways to create interest and depth in art. In fact, if you watch a movie, art is everywhere, from the director's vision of the shot to the costumes and the face prosthetics. All of these things were created by artists. Even before the movie was created, a storyboard was drawn up by artists. Now, with the development of CGI, artists are refining the film industry and are no longer part of the starving artist cliche. Some are making millions of dollars creating characters in some of your favorite Lord of the Rings movies, or creating new worlds in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All of these scenes were created by artists. Art is everywhere. It's just that people don't recognize it. Visual communication has always been part of our history. In fact, along hunting and gathering, it was one of the first forms of occupation. Early humans used art as a form of storytelling and communicating the world around them. In recent years, art has been used for revolution and propaganda. Art can spark change, either for good or bad. In fact, these same tactics are used to sell you things. Artists are being hired by many corporations well educated in visual communication for marketing and visual psychology. Millions of dollars are spent annually to find the best way to visually communicate to the consumer why they need and want that particular product. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, I understand visual communication, but what about visual art in galleries?
Let this sweet mineral melt in your mouth to rebuild your gums and teeth while you sleep, and say goodbye to the dentist for
To that I say, well, in the past, there was a need for storytelling. People 500 years ago were much like us. They wanted to be inspired. They wanted to be entertained. I don't know how many times I left the theater feeling inspired and motivated to do something grand. The ancients didn't have movies. They had paintings. They had sculptures. They read and understood art like we do books. They understood the symbols of each painting. They looked at Vermeer's painting and they understood that it wasn't just an autoportrait of the artist, but rather a bold statement on the political situation of the Netherlands at that time. They knew how to read all the symbols and they studied them for hours. When pious people of the Renaissance looked at Michelangelo's work in the Sistine Chapel, they read it as it should be read, like a comic book story. The entire work is communicating all the essential stories of the Bible in pictorial form. Most have forgotten how to read conceptual art like our ancestors did. But given some time and effort, it's not only entertaining, but can give you a better understanding of deep subjects and the world around you. This is why art and religious traditions always went hand in hand. After studying a painting of Rubens, people would discuss and debate what the work meant to them. and this would lead to long-winded discourses, much like what we do today after watching a movie. This is unfortunately why art seems bourgeoisie to some people. It seems far distant from what we consider as entertaining today. But it wasn't always so. Gallery art was treated like our comic books today. And if we approach it in such a way, it can appeal to all people and all intellects and all economic backgrounds, not just the ivory tower thinkers. I highly recommend watching a series with Sister Wendy, where she bridges the gap between explaining art in a way that's meaningful to our modern ears. People revolve their lives around art and visual communication. Take fashion, for example. Every culture and subculture uses visual communication to express who they are as people, from the punk to the businessman to the bum on the street. Each is visually communicating who they are and what their existence is about. And behind all of it is some whack job artist who created their clothing. Art is everywhere. One of my favorite movies is The Dead Poets Society. There's a quote said by Robin Williams' character where he says, medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits necessary to sustain life. But poetry, art, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. We live for art. We live for the next movie on the silver screen. We camp outside game shops waiting for the new video game to come the next day. We dress up in silly clothing to convey who we think we are. We are artists and consumers of art because we are humans and we have a need to communicate, whether it's verbally, musically, or visually. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the future.
All right. Turn this off.
The thing that's different about a Vrbo vacation home, you always have the whole place to yourself.
All right. So I'm going to have Miss McIntosh pass that handout to you, and I will see you all on tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is video, and then see you in person on Wednesday. So welcome. And good luck on the little quiz.